Can we end energy poverty? Welcome, Ronald Stein.
Glad to be aboard.
Welcome, Stuart Turley.
Hey, it is fantastic seeing you, Armando.
Thank you. And welcome, Seppo Corpella. Okay, this guy. Last week live with Ronald, he has a great idea to invite Steve Turley and Seppo Corpella to make, and we invited them to come to this podcast today with the topic, can we end energy poverty? We have a return on one of microphones. I don't know which one is returning the microphone. Seppo. Seppo, we have a problem with your microphone. It's returning the sound. Can you put it in mute?
We got feedback.
With the topic, can we end energy poverty? We have a return on one of the microphones. I don't know which one is returning the microphone. It has a separate idea to invite Steve. Seppo, we have a problem with your microphone. It's returning the sound. Yeah, I mute Seppo. No problem, Stuart here. Okay, now is everything solved. So the idea is to each one makes an initial reflection on energy poverty, so we can open the debate after that.
Okay.
So let's start with Stuart, please. The vision of Stuart about if you can or not and how to end energy poverty. Please, Stuart Turley.
Well, thank you very much. And I'm so honored to be here with Ronald and Seppo and you, Armando. And you know that energy poverty is a big passion of mine. And I've thoroughly enjoyed my conversations around the world with energy leaders. And one of the premier conversations I've had is with NJ Inuk, who is the head of the African Energy Chamber. And he is quite honestly very, very forward thinking about energy first and Africa first. And one of the biggest things that I have a problem with is like the International Monetary Fund forcing Africa or any other non G7 country to have to put in renewable, more expensive energy. Let's let Africa or any other country with their natural resources use their natural gas, use their lower end or easier to get to energy. Burn coal. It doesn't matter. Let's get all of the people's sustainable electricity and worry about the pollution. Because right now there's over 100 volcanoes burning around the world right now. There is nothing that man can do to try to stop net zero except go bankrupt. And so the only thing that we need to do is to get low cost, sustainable power to everyone on the planet so that we can elevate them out of poverty. It's not just even energy poverty. It is, with low cost, sustainable energy comes, resources, comes longer lifespan, there is all those things associated with that. So having the West force other countries to higher price borrowing to pay for renewables, it infuriates me. I hope that makes total sense.
yeah, it's a good thoughts. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, let's go with you again. But Ronald Stein, please.
I think the beginning of solving the problem is redefining the use of the word energy. all the politicians keep referring to wind and solar energy is going to replace fossil fuels. But wind and solar does something totally different than oil. You know, of the three fossil fuels, you've got oil, you've got coal, and natural gas. Now, coal and natural gas are heavily used to generate electricity. Oil is never used to generate electricity. In fact, oil is useless. It's black tar, unless you can send it through a refinery and beat it and heat it and crack it and cool it and all the crazy things they do and come up with the derivatives that make all the products in our daily lives. So when people talk about, you know, wind and solar energy, it's only wind and solar electricity. That's the only thing they make is electricity. And then it's intermittent. They can't make any products for society. And if you go back to basics, electricity came after oil because all the products needed to make the light bulb, to make wind turbines, solar panels, coal, natural gas, hydro, nuclear, all the electrical generating systems, all the components are made with oil. The computers, the insulation, the air conditioning. So when people talk about energy, I really like to have them talk about electricity or products, because you can have all the electricity you want, but if you got nothing, no products and nothing to go with, because everything that needs electricity, from the iPads to computers to the defibrillators in the hospital, everything that needs electricity is made with oil. Wind turbines and solar panels can only generate occasional electricity. And if you're on the operating table, you don't want occasional electricity.
Good. Thank you, Ronald. Let me remove this your presentation. Before we go forward, let me show that people that are following me and made some comments. Deborah Fonseca, good evening, everyone. Paula Kerber, good evening for you all. And we have the first comment from Deborah Fonseca saying that, well, the most viable alternative, we'll discuss that, no doubt. Replace coal, especially in, okay. Thank you, Deborah, just enough. So let's go to Seppo presentation. Let me remove his mute. Yeah. No. Yeah. No. Seppo. Sorry, Seppo. How can I put it? Okay. Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Seppo,
my turn.
So let's go to Seppo presentation. Let me put.
There's I have a lot of feedback, unfortunately.
Do you have another, Seppo, do you have another window with it on the live feed? I bet that's where you're getting your feedback from.
Okay. Right.
My turn.
So if you closed your other browser windows, I bet you would not have any more feedback.
Okay. Is that better?
Yes.
Yeah. I have a lot of feedback, unfortunately.
Do you have another, Seppo, do you have another window with it on the live feed? I bet that's where you're getting your feedback.
No longer. I turned them off.
So if you closed your other browser windows, I bet you would not have any more feedback.
Okay. Is that better?
Yes. Yes, it's good now. Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay, now, sorry. Thanks,
No
Stu.
problem.
Yeah, you took care of it. Well, the question of whether we can end energy poverty, I mean, the short answer is no. As you have already mentioned, that the world is 86% of the primary energy comes from the fossil fuels, and I have studied this question of their sustainability. Namely, when are they going to start going downhill? The production is going to start going downhill, and it's not too far away. And of course, the world population still increases with about 80 million a year, and wind and solar depending on how you count, either 5.6% of the primary energy if you use the so-called substitution method, or 2.5% if you use the direct method. And then nuclear energy power plants will take a very long time to build. And then finally, that 26% of the primary energy is converted to electricity. And the question is, how are the other needs met? Namely, we're talking about smelting ores and so on. And of course, transportation is basically on oil. So this slide, which shows population and energy use, the lower one, which goes up faster, is the yearly consumption of energy. And as you can see, it's moving faster than the population. So basically, the population is using per capita increase. There's a per capita increase in energy use. But this is going to come to an end when this energy production starts to go down. Next slide. And here's the figure for the primary energy consumption. As you can see, we've been growing about 1.7% a year, and 86% on fossil fuels. And the other ones, when you talk about renewables, they are basically a small sliver on top of this kind of stuff. So now I based, when I look at this thing, is that the oil is the most valuable of these energy sources. And I have studied some reports, PhD dissertations, and so on from a group at Uppsala University. And these were summarized by the London bank HSBC, and here are the following facts which come out of that stuff. That the world has about 50,000 oil fields, out of which about 30,000 are in the United States. United States is a large and old province, so that is the reason why this kind of skewed behavior. And giant fields which are more than 500 billion barrels, and there are about 500 such fields in the world, or 1% of the total. And of these 500 fields, 430 are in production, 17 were discovered in development in 2007, and 10 are in deep water, and 50 are under evaluation. This was the situation in 2007. Of these 500 fields, 380 are onshore, 100 are offshore, shallow water, and 27 are deep water. So now, about 50% of the world's oil comes from these giant fields. Now, if you go to the next slide, then here's that HSBC bank study. They concluded, based on not only the work of the Uppsala group, but also the group, U.S. Geological Survey, that 81% of the production is in decline right now. And the decline rate is somewhere around 6%. And that means that we have to replace every year around 4 million barrels per day. That means by 2040, we have to replace 4 Saudi Arabias. And now the interesting thing is that when you look at the discovery pattern, the field size is about 75 million barrels. And we use, if you look at the crude oil and condensate, we use 84 million barrels a day. And if you include everything, 100 million barrels a day. So 75 million barrels, the average field size is 1 day's supply. Exploration success year 2015 was only 5%. The average discovery size was only 24 million barrels. Okay, so I can leave these other slides later if you guys want to, and we can pick up this discussion here.
Well, Seppo, what the latest investment just for Saudi Arabia, I believe a little while ago, is that the world needs about $4 trillion of investment in exploration and production, just to meet the decline curves that are needed, because we haven't reached peak oil yet. So we still need a lot of money.
You haven't reached it. Wow, not yet.
I would say that we have reached peak oil. In fact, if you look at the crude and condensate, the peak production year month was November 2018. And since that time, we have used about 160 billion barrels of oil.
Could you please
We
explain?
came down. Yeah, go ahead.
Could you please explain better crude and condensate, because it's different from the 100 million barrels a day? It's
Yeah,
84.
Right.
Right. The other odds are the ones which you get from the natural gas plants, and of course this is light oil. And as Ron has been telling us, that this kind of stuff goes to the chemical industry for producing plastics and all the things which we use for oil. But the question now is that, okay, the peak month was November 2018 for crude and condensate, and I concentrate on that one because that's where the transportation fuels come from, and that's the most important thing, particularly diesel oil. And then since that time, okay, we dropped down quite far during the COVID era, and then we are coming back. But the question now is that will we reach the former peak? And a big question is going to be this fall. Are we going to meet the requirements as the world population increases, and we need to replace, or we need to keep just to keep flat, we need another million barrels a day, and then we have this decline. Now the question is that the last time when I was talking to Armando here, I had a presentation which I particularly had some slides regarding Saudi Arabia, and it's quite interesting that most of Saudi Arabia's oil today flows from fields which were discovered a long time ago and have been in production prior to 1970. There are very few fields which are producing a sizable amount in Saudi Arabia from 1970 on. And the new fields which Saudi Arabia has discovered, they are about 100 million barrels a day. There are about 100 of them. So again, each one of them is just a day's supply. So you can throw any amount of money into exploration, but if you can't find it, what are you going to do? The money is wasted.
Yeah. Let me show only people that are following now us and Deborah Fonseca with questions. Patrick, thank you for coming. Claudio Jorge is here with us, and Deborah Fonseca making several comments. But let me be back to the center of the topic. So energy poverty is similar to energy in general. What's the difference of these two things, Ronald Stein?
Well, let me summarize basically what Seppo said. We're a very materialistic society. The 8 billion people on this planet, bear in mind, we populated from 1 billion to 8 billion in less than 200 years. Not because of oil, but because of the products we get from oil. We now have hospitals, we got transportation, we got medical systems, communications, electronics. All these products didn't exist 200 years ago. And to keep these 8 billion people alive and well with food and medicine, we now have 50,000 merchant ships powered by aviation fuel, got 20,000 commercial jets, got 50,000 military jets. We're a very materialistic society. We need, the products, we need the food. We can grow food in any country and move it to a different country with the transportation systems we have. But it all gets down to the use of oil. And having zero emission wind and solar, they only generate electricity.
But Ronald, only 20% of oil is used for petrochemicals, for products. The other 80% is for heavy logistics. So
we got a lot, well, like I say, with all the merchant ships and planes and ships, yeah.
But heavy logistics, one day we can have replacement for that. But petrochemicals are more difficult, no doubt.
Well,
20%.
Zero emission electricity is not going to replace transportation.
No doubt. Seppo and Stuart. Stuart, you need to talk something here.
Well, yeah, I think okay. Well, let Stuart go first.
Oh no, I'm just having fun, and I'll tell you, when we sit back and think that we have not we still have a lot of production that is going to be needed. The United States is now producing more with less rigs than it ever has in the history of the United States. And even that's with a administration at war with oil. And so as Seppo, as you say, and Ronald, we are going to have more people. Peak oil is not here yet. And I think that we are about to hit it again. Now, let's take EVs for a second. EVs have imploded. Teslas will continue to do well. Tesla stock is doing fantastic. I love Elon, love everything that he has got going on. If you're going to buy a Tesla, if you're going to buy an EV, go buy a Tesla and support Elon. But when you're taking a look at, was it, I have to fact check myself, but was it $80,000 an EV that Ford was losing?
60,000.
Yeah. And so there's going to be absolutely no way that ICE cars are going to be going away. And so that transportation is still going to have demand there. And then you have the Biden administration getting rid of the Northeastern gasoline strategic reserve just so they could sell it back in to reduce the gasoline prices for political reasons, which is just unbelievable. So we are still going to have large demand. And now I believe it's 60% of EV car owners are not going to be buying EVs again. So the EV transition has failed based off of forcing it. I think that if we electrified under a open market system, we would have that. But you're not going to be able to end energy poverty by giving everybody an EV. It's not going to happen. So
let me make a comment about EVs.
Yeah, Stuart, but sorry, Ronald.
Go ahead.
You put in your bio in LinkedIn that you elimination of energy poverty.
I firmly am on a mission to try to get rid of energy poverty. I do not like having poor people. I've spent years helping homeless folks, and it just drives me nuts that people just, and Ronald, you do such a great job articulating the fact that there's a difference between electricity and oil and gas. And there is, electricity is electricity, and oil and gas helps you make things and or get you to somewhere. And
well, let's look at this picture a little more broadly.
Okay.
Is that the if you think about how the modern societies throughout the world have developed over the last 200 years, basically, Ron, it is because of development of technology. Okay. And we particularly notice that we are completely dependent on cars. When I was a young guy, nobody in my town had car. We were all in public transportation and so on.
Right.
Okay. So our living arrangements are completely dysfunctional when we start running, the production of oil comes down. Then look at the farming. Okay, the farming is completely dependent on hydrocarbons, not only for running those farm machinery, but also for fertilizer. Okay,
Right.
Then you look at the so these are kind of autonomous developments which nobody is directing.
Well,
But-
let me
Go
ask
ahead.
this question, Seppo, and that's because of the formula or the amount of power that you get from a gallon of gas versus a pound of a battery. Agriculture and electrical equipment don't mix right now because of the weight to thrust ratio of ICE engines and being able to power them. It is it is a physics matter to the grid and to growing things, right?
I used to teach thermodynamics, so I really know the subject of thermodynamics and the energy quality in particular. Not only I'm talking about the available energy, which is in the raw oil and coal and natural gas, and versus diffuse energy like sunlight. But okay, we have. I mentioned the way we are living. The second thing is the way we are growing our food. Then we come to kind of a new kinds of things. Right now, this world is guided by certain individuals. Okay, this latest effort is a let's say global trade is a political project today, unlike 100 years ago, 150 years ago. That is, we have this Washington Consensus, World Bank, World Trade Organization, and the International Monetary Fund. These are political projects. Okay, and then we have, in addition to this stuff, now we have things like the World Health Organization, World Economic Forum. These have no legitimacy at all in the world, but they are running things. Okay, so the question is basically is that we have come to this kind of a dead ends in many areas. And that's what I'm saying is that how this issue of reducing energy poverty is a difficult task because, well, most of us, we don't know what to do. And I appreciate your humanitarian instincts and your moral position, but I am trying to just look at the way things are, and whatever I do privately in my own life and among my friends is doesn't really enter this discussion.
Let me make a comment about Stu's promoting Elon Musk. The EV, you have to understand the EV is 100% made with oil. From the tires, the computers, the insulation, the upholstery, it's 100% oil car. The only thing that makes it electric is the battery. And the battery basically is enhancing and promoting poverty around the world because they're taking advantage. All the lithium and cobalt, all the minerals and metals to build those batteries is coming from developing countries. Child abuse. They got no labor controls. They got no environmental controls. We're exploiting people who have yellow, brown, and black skin. The environmental degradation is atrocious, but it's okay because it's over there.
Yeah,
We're going green.
Okay, but look, I mean, you are digging into some detail, and these are interesting cocktail party talk of what it is. I'm trying to look at the big picture, and Armando, you can put some more slides on for me.
Yeah, sure.
The issue here is one
from Deborah saying that is very interesting podcast. Thank you, Deborah. Let me go to your.
Deborah will pay you later.
Here is it. Is this or
well? Okay. The point I want to make again is that these fossil fuels are concentrated in very few countries. And the question comes in when we start having the production start reducing. What are these countries going to do? Are they going to try to keep part of it for themselves? And what's going to happen to world trade in these commodities? Here they are, 5 countries, 62% have the oil reserves in the world, those 5 countries. Next is my graph for the peak oil, Stu, okay? The red line, the purple line is monthly data, okay? And if one were to able to blow up the last part, we are going down again.
How do you make this prediction? How do you make this forecast? Using what?
Well, this everything to the left of this last smooth line is actual data.
Yeah,
it's data, and this is crude and condensate, and it's about 84 million barrels a day. Okay, and you can see the drop to 70, around 70 during the COVID depth of the COVID crisis for a few months, and then has risen, but now we have not reached the earlier high yet. And I actually suspect that we will not reach it. Okay, now if you go to the next slide, this is now natural gas. Again, 6 countries have 60% of the reserves. Russia, Iran, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, United States. I mean, USA, Saudi Arabia, and United Arab Emirates. Okay,
Can you
and
go
then
back to the previous slide?
yeah, go ahead.
Sure.
Or the slide with the oil reserves. I'm sorry, I missed
Yeah,
that.
go ahead. One before that.
Yeah, one.
Yep.
How come the U.S. is not on here?
Well, we don't have that many reserves. I mean, I got okay. The British Petroleum put out this yearly report, right?
Right.
And they stopped giving reserves at 2019, right? And now this task has gone to the Energy Institute, and okay, last month they published the last one, and we don't have, we don't have any more data on the reserves, because why? Well, the data is very unreliable. You know how they do it, right? I mean, Oil and Gas Journal. I think that the Oil and Gas Journal will report it again, end of year report. They just send the query to the country, and if they don't answer it, they put the last year's reserves in there, no matter how much they have produced. The oil reserve data is unreliable. Okay, so yeah, United States does not have large reserves.
Yeah, Seppo is doing a great job of looking at the big picture. The big picture is supply and demand. Ironically, you take a look at this list, it's the wealthy countries that have the demand. It's some of the less wealthy countries have the supply. That's not
Okay.
a good situation.
That's the reason. That's the reason I'm bringing it up, because of this uneven distribution of the resources means that you cannot end energy poverty particularly in the poorest countries. Okay.
Oh, I agree. And one of the things that I was visiting with AJ and Uck is, let's take natural gas. Let's finance natural gas plants in Africa to build finished products in Africa and have Africa sell those products
Back to the United States.
back to the wherever. You could make a lot more money that way and have jobs in Africa.
And when is the peak natural gas going to be, Stu?
I don't know.
long
You
time
have-
from now, because AI.
No, let's put the next one. Here's my calculation for the peak natural gas, 2040.
I disagree.
Why? What's based on what data?
Let's take a look at data and how you get the amount of energy that the world is needing. And let's take AI for example. AI is driving the world nuts around the world with data centers and the amount of energy that's required. Right now, I'm going to sidebar us here for just a little bit, because AI has thrown a wrinkle into this entire discussion. We are going to be forced to have two sets of grids in the world. You're going to have the rich and you're going to have the poor. The AI, let's take Google and Amazon and those, they are now buying nuclear power plants, or they're now making arrangements for their own microgrids, and those with money will have power plants. If you take a look at it, takes how many years to bring in nuclear reactors and X number of gigawatts? It takes years. We are not going to solve our net zero problems with nuclear. We are going to solve it with natural gas. And natural gas is going to be the only way that we can do that. An LNG tanker can ship out of Texas and go to Asia and have less of a carbon impact than having a coal plant in Asia. So I think that there is going to be a long-term natural gas play.
Well, I claim that the natural gas is going to peak by 2040. Okay, so it's not long term. It's about a little less than 20 years away, and we will see what happens. But let's move to coal then.
Okay.
Next slide, Armando. Okay, now here are the world's coal resources. 76% are in 5 countries. Okay, USA, Russia, Australia, China, and India. China now consumes 56% of all the world's coal.
Right.
Okay, it mines about 51%. So it's importing about 11% of its needs today. Okay, because of the different pace. Where does this coal come from? Okay, it turns out that last year, based on again this Energy Institute's report, the amount of coal coming from Mongolia to China increased by 111.6%. 1 year, it more than doubled. And what that tells me that China has reached basically peak coal as well by now.
I disagree with you 300% on that statement. China has not hit their peak coal. They have 2 coal plants a week coming online. Their coal that they're importing from the U.S. and their coal production is going through the roof. China just increased their CO2 from their coal plants last year 220%. I'm going to disagree with you on that one.
Which countries are exporting coal? Indonesia, the largest one. Australia second, Russia third, USA and Mongolia. USA, based on my numbers here, 2.47 exajoules per year versus Indonesia's 10. So Indonesia is about 4 times as much. Mongolia is 2, so that's about the 5th of Indonesia's. So where does this South Pacific resource go? Goes to Japan, South Korea mainly, and then China is taking a larger and larger share of it.
You bet.
I need a few seconds to put several comments. I will not answer each one, of course, but we need to live with.
I agree.
More or less.
Live less with
production.
By the way, this is the woman I paid her to come and talk here. She's a friend of mine.
Other comments. Supply and demand of all products were fully and quantity available. Energy fail. Energy, yes or no? Yeah, I suppose we are not answering because we have thousands of comments here. Life and military life. From Lisbon, a friend from Lisbon, George Rivera. Good evening for you.
Armando, I'm not sure if I can share my screen, but since I'm a admin on mine, I can show you the coal plants that are active right now in China, around the world, and India, and the U.S.
If you send in a PDF format, I can put for you, no problem.
Okay.
Can
you bet?
Stu, the thing is, it's not the issue of how much we are building and how much they are. The question is, where does the raw material come from? That is the issue. And I agree with you that, well, because the thing is that it's the same kind of thing as you guys talking about these electric cars. Why are all these world's car companies moving into electric cars? When anybody who thought about it a little bit beforehand realized that it's a dead end.
Well, they were told in the U.S. and in the UK, they were told you will go this way.
Okay, so the point is that
through regulation.
My point is that we are getting direction from people who don't understand the situation, and similarly, people are building plants even if the source material is not there. You know,
but. I think we're in a little bit of a disagreement with the coal from and the power, because China is installing 2 coal plants per week right now.
Wow!
I can get you the number of
Armando. Put my coal issue next. I have a slide on coal as well. Okay, that's what they are, and then the question is next slide.
Oh, sorry. Next one.
Yeah, next slide. This is my calculations for the coal production in the world. Okay. Now,
Right.
this is difficult calculation, by the way. The leftmost line, kind of a brown line. This is based on data by Dave Rutledge, former dean of engineering at Caltech, who wrote a paper in 2010 and published in the Journal of Coal Economics. And he basically said that by 2060, we have used 90% of the world's coal. And in that paper, he also criticizes the IPCC because they assume that we are going to burn coal to the end of the century 5 times more than what his calculations show that how much coal we have. Okay, so the point is that now the thing is that the reason for difference, by the way, here is also is that he uses metric tons of coals, and we know that the coal quality depends on very much of where it comes from: lignite, brown coal, and dark coal, and so forth. And so therefore, the question is, how do you adjust this new data? Because the Energy Institute has started to report everything in terms of exajoules, which means that they are taking account the quality of the coal when they do the calculation. Yeah. But if you use the old data, you only have gigatons to use, and you don't know exactly what the energy value is.
It's a way to hide information, as far as I'm concerned.
Hide information, no doubt.
Well, I would not say that. I mean, the thing is that the idea that somebody does the calculation, some organization like the Energy Institute does the calculation of trying to figure out what is the quality of the coal in each region and assign it the energy value.
Right.
So it seems to me that the reasonable thing to do is to use same units in there. But the thing is that I agree with you about the data hiding, is that everybody's talking about that we don't need these fossil fuels in the future. Yeah. We're going to have a peak demand, and that one I certainly think it's a kind of a spin which people are putting on this issue, because the politicians do not have answers to us.
Well, the politicians have their pockets open, and they have their hand out, and it's all about graft and greed, and that's what drives me nuts. And they sit there, and if you don't pay, you know, I'm tired of politicians.
Well,
Seppo,
but I mean, these are the people who make decisions. Go ahead, Ron.
I got a question for Seppo, because you've been talking about production of coal, oil, natural gas, and if we go with EV batteries, we're extracting a lot of resources out of the earth, lithium, cobalt, et cetera, These resources, humans have only been around really for a couple hundred years. I mean, a couple thousand, but there was primitives. But you know, when you talk about 8 billion people, we're talking about Earth that's been around 4 billion years. How many years before we've extracted the oil, extracted the coal, extracted the natural gas, extracted the lithium and the cobalt? We got all these wealthy countries that have demands, and there be no supply. Do we have 200 years left, 500 years left, 1,000 years left for humanity
to extract this stuff?
Yes.
No. Well, I mean, as I showed that the game is over by 2050, 2040, I would say, actually, by the latest. We only have 20 years to make adjustments, and the nature will force us to make adjustments. So the point is,
what type of adjustments you mean? What type of adjustments?
Well, we have to learn to live with less. You know,
I think we're going to have to. I agree with you in some of that, in Seppo, in some ways, and I think that the United States and the UK, France, and England are going to get hit hard and very badly, very quickly. And I think that we are going to be facing rolling blackouts of unbelievable magnitude because of the illegal migration. The illegal migration is going to be horrific.
Okay. Now, look, the thing is that, you're bringing out, I've talked about how the societies have gone into dead ends. Okay. Right. So now you're bringing a new aspect of a dead end. This migration and how to handle that thing. Right. Okay. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, just try to think about how a modern society, what kind of dead ends we have come to. Okay, and I can't see that we can get out of this.
But reducing energy poverty is only a problem of investments, quantity of money to be applied, subsidies. Stuart Turley.
I don't think
No,
it's.
I mean-
I don't think that energy poverty is a matter of investments. I think ending energy poverty, and I think Seppo and Ronald, we have talked about this a little bit. It is who's running it at the top, and that if you have the World Health Organization, the WHO, which should be banned, the UN should be banned. You have
National
all of
Energy
these
System.
organizations that are trying to destroy humanity. We have the Pope who is destroying humanity, and
Okay.
I'm sorry for speaking this way, but if we want to absolutely get humanity and end poverty, and that is have good energy policies, live with less.
Stu, this is wishful thinking. Please. You
think
can
it's
say
gonna
that you can wish these problems away, but they're not going to go away. They're going to just get worse. Okay, we talk about
I think that it will
the
happen
financial
sooner than you think.
system of the world, and particularly United States. I mean, we are having a 1 trillion deficit every 100 days. Okay,
I think
so the thing is that we can't increase the debt.
Will win, and I think we are about to see that in the next 6 months.
What?
Wow, 6 months. Why?
I
After
think
election?
the election will change things, and it will get very bad before it gets very good, in my opinion.
No, the thing it can go completely off the rails. This
Right.
train we're on.
That's what I mean. But I think I believe in my heart that good will win.
Wow.
Well, because you're an optimist. You see, I come from a country where I don't suffer from the American
Yeah,
disease
good.
of eternal optimism. You know, I come from a country where there are a lot of pessimists, and that's what has pulled us through.
Sensational.
I can't wait to buy you a dinner.
This person again, Seppo, Hikla.
And
Hilkka Kiesilä is her name.
Fossil fuels are probably
She's
quite
from my
difficult to
country.
replace. Oh yeah, he's shipping goods, running consumer goods. Oh, that's the reason she is doing so
Right.
so good.
and take a look at the Houthis, and they're having to
Yeah.
they're causing so much shipping anxiety, and
Yes.
we need realism. I like that as well. I am a realist. Now, I have in one of my locations, one of my houses, I have 4 houses, and I have 2 propane generators.
What's your carbon footprint?
My
Tons
main
of
house is
carbon.
only 900 square feet. So, but when you sit back and take a look, I have to have a business to run. So I also have wind, I have solar, I have twin carbon, I have hydro. So when you want to make that joke about
two
how
EVs.
my energy is done, I know how to do energy because I
Okay,
put my
Stu,
own
look,
microgrid
we
in.
can start discussing individual cases, and we can spin nice stories about all this stuff. I'm trying to look at the real big picture in the entire world and how we are getting to this impossible situation. And Armando, you can put a couple more slides there from me if you wish.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Entertainment at its
Just like-
finest, Armando.
Nuclear. Okay, now we come to electricity. Nuclear generation, again, 5 countries, 75%, 73% of all the generation of nuclear. That's who they are. And then we come to next, hydropower. And finally, we get Brazil in there as the
Yeah.
second largest
Yeah, it's very
thing.
strong.
Yeah.
It's very
China,
strong.
Brazil, Canada, USA, and Russia, 58%. So the thing is that,
It's
again,
vulnerable. It's vulnerable
the-
because climate
Pardon?
is doing bad. We have problems with hydropower in Brazil when the climate's not good. Weather's not good.
yeah. But anyway, the point is that my point is that this issue, if you come back to the issue of energy poverty, is that that these raw materials and the possibilities, they are concentrated in a few countries. And what happens to those countries which have no resources at all, and no way to pay for this stuff when things get expensive, when things get scarce? That was my last slide, Armando.
Is this one?
No, that one. Okay, U.S. energy consumption. That's yeah, it's actually interesting because of this is another aspect which is a little bit troublesome with discussing this coal trajectory of coal production, because in a lot of Western countries the coal production has gone down because it's been replaced by natural gas in power plants. So that one suggests a slower rise in coal production in the world. But anyway. That's
let's round with Ronald, Stuart, and Seppo. Make our conclusions about can we end energy poverty? Because I suppose we need another podcast to deeply.
I think this
discuss.
was great fun, and I appreciate
because
you all
it's
very much.
not enough this one only. But Ronald, till now, till today, the first podcast, what are conclusions you have for? If you can end energy poverty.
I agree with Seppo that we're running out of resources, and we got to be focusing on efficiencies and conservation. We got to take a look at how can we maintain the health and well-being of the 8 billion on this earth. And the wealthy countries are doing all these mandates that are the wealthy countries can afford, but it's separating the wealthy countries from the poor countries. It's getting further and further away because, people in the United States can't afford an EV. The people in, developing countries will never have an automobile. And so, we have to focus on conservation efficiency rather than spending all this money on mandates. I think we should spend some of that money on bringing the developing countries into the Industrial Revolution. Because we're losing millions of people every year from starvation and diarrhea and malnutrition, weather-related deaths. These are all preventable, but we're so focused on this clean, zero emissions in our backyard, we're forgetting about the rest of the world. Of the 8 billion on this earth, more than 80% are living on less than $10 a day. They're the ones suffering. And the wealthy countries are going, great and doing all this good stuff, and it's not accomplishing anything here. It's driving our homeless population higher, and it's making the poorer countries almost unreachable to join the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah, and actually, in your previous broadcast with Armando, Ronald, you mentioned that the same kind of issue. And my point on this issue is that when the crash comes, and it will come, maybe already this fall, Stu, I don't know.
That's my opinion.
In November.
It could very well. I have, I spent some time in India as well. I was on a sabbatical there in 2005, and I discussed these issues with them, these energy issues with them there too. And I became to the conclusion that it's actually better for them not to industrialize as far as we have, because they're going to fall from a lower platform. We are the ones who are, and already part of our population has already fallen. Exactly. I mean, we have a middle class is gone. Yeah,
you nailed it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And your conclusions, Seppo, for today?
Well, my conclusion is that we can't end energy poverty, and basically we should look at into ourselves on what we can, how we're living, and so forth. And I don't want to tell people how they live. I mean, I was just joking about Stu, about your carbon footprint. It's okay. It was a joke. No, I mean, yeah, it has to come from ourselves, and so on. I don't think these politicians can manage this thing at all. They don't know what to do.
They have no clue.
Yeah,
Stuart,
exactly.
Please, your conclusions for
Amen.
today, Stuart. Your conclusions for today, Stuart.
I
Please.
just appreciate both everybody here. Armando, you are a top-notch world leader, and Seppo, I thoroughly enjoyed our first conversation today. And Ronald, I just really, I really love your industry thought leadership and how you do everything. I just appreciated the entire conversation because I love talking about energy and ending energy poverty. I believe good will win. I believe the road is about to get really, really ugly. And I think that is a Christian man. I have to be ready to stand
Okay.
up.
That was a key statement, Stu.
Yes, it
You
is.
brought in Christianity into this discussion.
I'm sorry. I am a
No,
Christian.
that's fine. That's fine. I mean, I understand your premises now.
And I firmly believe that if I don't stand up for my family and my neighbors, and if I'm not prepared with sustainable power, sustainable food, and go through, because when the blackouts start happening right now in Texas, we have 2.7 million people without power because of the hurricane that came through. Normal occurrence.
Right. Yeah.
And so when you sit back and take a look at what's about to happen, I know we have about 4 minutes here, Armando, but President
No. We are
President
free.
President Biden signed an executive order on the second day that he was here that allowed for 32 major interconnects into the U.S. grid. Those 32 major interconnects are now available to be controlled remotely by China. Out of the Darien Gap, there are now 58,000 Chinese military age men that have come through the border from a military camp in the Darien Gap that Secretary Mayorkas went to. The day that he was there, they only had 900 people come through. Michael Yon, a war correspondent who I interviewed, was there and has film of our Secretary of Energy who was now forming all this through here. So our administration is now compromised because our grid can be remotely shut down in major sections by the Chinese. So do you think Biden is going to be able to stand up to the Chinese? I don't think so.
Yeah.
I would like to invite you to have another podcast. It's a fantastic thing, fantastic conversation. I have only for today to try a conclusion.
Okay.
The screen.
What scares me the most
is that opposite is equally true. Because this matter, this theme is so spread and so difficult to focus on something that's relevant. Everything is relevant, and that we cannot solve in a 1 hour conversation everything that we need.
Well, my summary of the conclusion is that we got to have conversations about these mandates. Because the
exactly.
mandates are being made by politicians that can't even spell the word energy, let alone pronounce it. And, the repercussions of jumping out of an airplane without a parachute, I'm all for jumping out of the airplane, but I want a backup plan.
Yeah, backup plan, contingency. That's good.
We have no backup plan.
No, we have no one.
We have no backup plan. No.
Especially in Texas and California.
Oh, yes.
So
I live in Oregon, by the way.
I invite you to continue another day, another week if you want. For me, it's a fantastic conversation. Thank you, Ronald Stein, Seppo Corpella, and Stuart Turley. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, gentlemen. Great
Nice
conversation.
Yeah.
See you guys
Bye-bye.
later.